Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study on the book of Revelation. The last couple of times together we've been looking at Revelation chapter 13, the two beasts that are contained in that chapter. And last time we were looking at the mark of the beast. You recall this mark is imposed on the right hand and the forehead of those who worship the beast. And its number is 666. Now we said last time that this number is symbolic, obviously. It is very possibly an example of what is called gematria, which was the use of a code to express the numerical name of a person, where you took the letters of the name and assigned them a numerical value and then added that up, and that was the number of the name. Usually, the people on the inside would recognize the code and know who has been referred to, while those who were on the outside, perhaps persecutors, would not recognize the code. So if this gematria, what does the number refer to, 666? Well, there's speculation through the years. A lot of the speculation has revolved around Nero Caesar. Now remember, Nero was the first Roman emperor to carry out a persecution against the church, especially in the city of Rome. You recall, after the great fire of Rome, he blamed the Christians for the fire and instituted a terrible persecution. Many believers were martyred under his despotic persecution. So some have felt like maybe the 666 refers to Nero Caesar. It's interesting, if you take the name of Nero Caesar and you spell it in Hebrew, that is, you use Hebrew letters for the name. Of course, it's not a Hebrew name, it's a Latin name. But if you transpose it to Hebrew letters, the numerical value is 666. Now, of course, to make that happen, you have to transpose it to Hebrew letters. But that is possibly part of the code, and the early church would have understood that. It's also interesting that if you take the name of beast in the Greek, as it refers to this beast, and you take the name itself and transliterate that to Hebrew, it also has a numerical value of 666. So many have felt through the years that the number referred to Nero Caesar as an example of the spirit of Antichrist. Not to say that Nero is the one and only Antichrist, obviously, but Antichrist has existed throughout the years. Whenever you have the state or the government exalting itself as God, that is the beast. And Nero may have been one example of that. There have been many others through the years, and they will continue until the end. But perhaps in New Testament times, Nero was the prime example the church would relate to of what the Antichrist, the beast, looks like and what he does when he demands worship for himself, as Nero did. Now, there's another possibility, and I would suggest that to you, well, or at least list it for you. And that is that the number 666 may simply represent symbolically man. You remember we said that the number 7 was the number of perfection. That's why we saw 7 letters to 7 churches. That's why we saw 7 seals, and we've seen 7 trumpets, and we're going to see 7 bowls to come. That's why the Holy Spirit is referred to as the sevenfold Spirit of God. It's that number of completeness. It's that number of perfection. Now, the beast is not 777. That's God. The beast is 666. And maybe saying that the Antichrist is attempting to parody the true Christ, but he is imperfect in every way. 666 may be the number of incompletion or the number of imperfection in that sense. And maybe that's what John meant when he says, this calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast. It is 666. But however you interpret it, we do understand that the number refers to that spirit of Antichrist, or that spirit that is opposed to God, that says worship man rather than God. And whenever that happens, you have a beast. Now let's say one more thing about chapter 13, then we'll be done for our today's study. Notice that in this chapter 13, you have the dragon, you have the first beast, which is the government exalting itself as God, and then you have the second beast, which is the false prophet, false religion, encouraging man to worship humanity rather than God. Do you see this as a parody of the Trinity? In the triune nature of God, we have Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so the devil attempts to parody that with the dragon, the first beast, and the false prophet. So in essence, this is an unholy trinity, an unholy trinity of evil, trying to usurp the place of God and to get men to worship them rather than God himself. That's what we see in chapter 13, this unholy trinity, this parody of the true nature of God, that is 666, the dragon, the first beast, and the false prophet. But of course, our allegiance, if we have wisdom, is always to recognize the true God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and to worship only him. That's why John says this calls for patient and faithful endurance. Stay faithful to the true God. Stay faithful to the Father, the Son, who is the Lamb, and the Holy Spirit. May that be true of us, and may that faithfulness be a part of the way in which you and I live. Okay, I hope you have a great day today. I hope it's a blessed day, and I'll see you next time as we move on into chapter 14 of the book of Revelation.